Hey guys, Wally here, and yes, I am back. I am back, bitches. I know, new year, new me. I'm feeling much better now, and let's get into... What is this? New guy? What the fuck is a new guy? Okay, let me check this out. Okay. Gamer bro, douchebag. Okay, alright. New guy seems like a pretty nice guy. Okay, what the fuck is this comic? Okay, so I just read the new guy comic, and now I see what all the buzz is about. So basically, from what I'm seeing here, the self-insert in this comic, I'm just gonna call her purple-haired bitch. She pretty much is laughing at, well, basically PewDiePie getting his house robbed, and the new guy, who's supposed to be the antagonist of all fucking things, is like, hey, how would you feel if you got robbed? You're not being a nice person. You're being a purple-haired bitch. And purple-haired bitch is like, I know I'm a purple-haired bitch, but you don't have to call it out. But no, she's really just, she sarcastically says, I could tell that we're gonna be good friends. And new guy, the antagonist, the ever so evil antagonist, is just like, oh my god, really? I get a new friend here, and I just got this job. And then she's like, oh hell no. Pretty much not sarcastically, pretty much just saying, no, we're not gonna get along well, because me, the hero of the story, the self-insert here, I have no morals while you have morals. We can't be friends. And that's something that I'm starting to notice with social justice warriors. Now, for anyone who is familiar with the so dreaded SJWs, is that they tend to fucking ruin everything. They promote a particular far left ideology that they call progressivism, but it's not really progressive. If anything, it's regressive, which is why a lot of more conservative commentators would like to call the far left, or would like to call SJWs the regressive left. And they ruin fucking everything. Primarily anything that has to do with, male-related media. They ruin comic books. They pretty much just fucking took a shit on comic books. They're trying to ruin video games. They definitely ruin video game journalism. And they are ruining comic book movies or sci-fi in general. And action as well, espionage. And it's not just they're ruining it with feminism. They're ruining it with all sorts of identity politics. And for the longest while, I've been trying to hold down a central belief system. I've been trying to hold down the reasons and motives why. And then I remembered the Hong Kong protests. And I started remembering other stuff. I remember China's persecution of the Uyghurs, China's persecution of the Tibetans, China's persecution of the Falun Gong. And then I started to, remember Tiananmen Square, and how, according to China, that shit never fucking happened, even though that shit did fucking happen. And so then I started to realize, holy fuck, the SJWs are trying to create their own cultural revolution. And I realized, shit, this is the underlining ideology, the underlying belief, the underlying thing behind the SJW movement. So, to put it simply, the SJWs, the NPCs, the far left radicals, the progressives, they're Maoists. Let me explain. Maoism is a form of Marxist ideology that seeks to uproot cultural norms and cultural values of a certain nation and implement a form of secular state loyalty and state worship. Maoism is typically implemented alongside more socialist and communist forms, being that it's Marxist after all. But honestly, I truly believe that Maoism doesn't even have to be aligned with communism. It doesn't even need communism involved. And Maoism is pretty much taken over China and has been a part of Chinese culture for the past several decades, since the Cultural Revolution of Mao Zedong, where Mao Zedong has pretty much uprooted and destroyed all previous cultural norms of China that has been around for the past thousands of years of Chinese history, and has, like I said, implemented state loyalty and state worship. And I'm afraid that the social justice warriors are trying to implement the same thing. See, the social justice warriors don't necessarily believe in fairness, don't necessarily believe in equality, even though they claim to. They believe in more of power struggles, how certain groups of people have the power and other certain groups of people need the power, deserve the power, or want the power, and should have that power. And it falls under the basic Marxist ideology of the proletariat versus the bourgeoisie. Now, the proletariat are the people without the power, and the bourgeoisie are the people with the power. Although, in the real world, unlike Marxist ideology, power is a bit more complicated than that. However, Marxists and Karl Marx has put the whole proletariat bourgeoisie dynamic in terms of economics, and the bourgeoisie are more or less people who own businesses, people who own capital, people who make money, people who are the part of the 1%, and the proletariat are the workers, people who don't own capital, people who don't they still do make money, and people who are either in the working class, the lower class, the middle class, or impoverished, if anything. And that's kind of how it sort of began. That's kind of how the ideology began. It began as more of an economic ideology. But it doesn't really have to just apply to that. Take this, for example. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you. Racism is prejudice plus power. And white people have all the power, and black people don't have any of the power. Therefore, white people can be labeled as a racist if need be, and racism cannot be applied to black people. Now, if you're a sane and rational human being, you can recognize that statement I just made is the most stupidest thing you ever fucking heard. Or at the very least, is a really stupid idea. But in the more proletariat bourgeoisie mindset, black people would be the proletariat, and white people will be the bourgeoisie. And it's, again, a really simplistic view of the world. Whereas in actuality, we had a black president for about 8 years, and we had several black people in office, several black people who have certain control and have certain power. Power, at least in the United States, is not based off of race. And honestly, for the most part, it never really was. Now, I'm not going to lie and act like black people weren't second-class citizens for a large chunk of American history. Hell, for the most part, we were slaves. And then as soon as we got our freedom, we ended up being second-class citizens. Although Lincoln, Republican, by the way, had no intention of us being second-class citizens, but that man got shot. And then the vice president, who ended up becoming the president, Andrew Johnson, a Democrat, is primarily the reason why freed black people from the inception of our freedom up until like the civil rights movement had complete issues. He's pretty much the guy that started Jim Crow, Andrew Johnson. Look him up. Basically, that's how the mindset is. That's how the mindset of many black nationalists, many SJWs, black or otherwise, would kind of view black people and white people as as two classes struggling for power. And the same thing has been applied for the LGBT versus heterosexuals, cisgendered people versus transgendered people, men versus women, religious minorities, primarily Muslims versus Christians as a majority, especially in the United States. And it's ridiculous. And it's a ridiculous mindset, but this is the mindset that they propose. And so you see, it never really was about fairness, because if take for example, if 4 black kids kidnap a white person and completely abuse them, you can argue that they have the power to, abuse the white kid. They are attacking him, they are taunting him, and they are shouting racial slurs at that white kid. Yet, for some reason, the white kid is still the one with the privilege. The white kid is still the one with the power, simply based on the fact that he's white. Does that make any sense whatsoever? No. But the SJWs wouldn't exactly take the side of the white kid, but they would take the sides of the black kids, simply because they are, in their minds, the proletariat. So no matter what they do, it is justified simply because they are the proletariat. And that is a ridiculous mindset. And it's a mindset of power and a mindset of power struggles. And that's really all what the SJWs truly think. They don't think about fairness. They don't think about equality. If they thought, about fairness and equality, they wouldn't necessarily give black people a certain advantage in terms of going into college simply on the basis of them being black. And they wouldn't discriminate against Asians primarily, in terms of colleges. Take, for example, Harvard, which pretty much made it really difficult for Asians to get in, but it made it really easy for black people to get in on the basis of their race, despite the fact that a lot of these black people who don't necessarily have the proper credentials to be in Harvard, while those Asian kids did, but they're being barred simply because of their race. It's ridiculous, and it is a power struggle that these people view. I really have no idea how to end this video, basically. So, that's just my, little 2 cents on power struggles, which this was not even about power struggles. This was about new guy. I'm a bit rusty, okay? I'm probably going to improve on my scripts and shit by, the next video, which hopefully I'll be able to upload next Saturday. So for now, the typical. If you like this video, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at KaiJustDie. And yeah, I guess I'll see you there. Goodbye, comrades. Wait, I guess that's pretty inappropriate because I've been talking shit about communism. Goodbye. Capitalists? Goodbye, capitalists. Goodbye. Get off my fucking channel already. Go. Your mom's calling you. She's wondering why all your socks are stiff. She's wondering why there's so much tissues in your room, dude. Just go. Just click off this video and go. Go clean up the tissue. Go clean up the graveyards of millions of potential children that you have in those wads of tissue. And if you could just recommend to me that porn that you're jerking off to, that would be really nice. Thank you. Goodbye.